Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the show. And it is a great joy, and I'm just really excited to share with you this guest that I have today. Her name is Yafi Yair. She is a doctor in clinical psychology and hypnosis. She combines her expertise in holistic wellness with spiritual exploration. Beyond her clinical realms, Dr. Yafi is an energy worker, an intuitive, and a channeler. She brings light language and verbal transmission from the divine feminine Hathor and from an array of other spirit sources, including earth elements, Viola the fairy, and extraterrestrials. Welcome, Yafi. So thrilled to have you.
Hi, Jennifer. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you. And shall I say Yafi or Dr. Yafi?
Yafi is fine.
Okay, okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. Very good. Um, I'm really fascinated with your work, and I would love for you to share with us what led you to this path.
Yeah, so since I was very, very little, I always had this double interest. Well, I didn't know it was double back then. It was just natural for me. But now looking back, I know it's kind of the left brain, right brain double thing going. So I was intuitive and creative and imaginative. I had a wild imagination as a little girl, but also I was really scientific in my thinking. I was naturally good at math, which is kind of a strange thing. And I had this like analytical brain. So I always walked the line, like left, right, feminine, masculine, flow, structure. My whole life, it's been like this. So then when it was time to be practical, to be a big girl and pick a field of study and a career, I picked psychology. It was responsible, practical, and it really did capture my passion of the human mind, human potential, even helping like humanity. We're all a part of this shift and here to help ourselves and help others. So I really felt a calling, and I thought psychology was the perfect fit. But as I progressed in my studies, it really took me many, many years, maybe the last 2 years of my doctorate. So we're talking out of 11 years of schooling. About the last 2 years, I really started realizing that the more I'm awakening spiritually and the more I'm following my passion, the less the clinical field was able to hold all my interests and all my passion and be open-minded enough for exploration and for inclusion of things that are not fully accepted in the mainstream science. So towards the end of my doctorate, I really had this awakening. And professionally, it was mainly through hypnosis. I discovered hypnosis, first clinical hypnosis, which was a gateway of bringing the love for the unknown and for the mysterious into the clinical field. But personally, I started meditating every day. I started reading a lot of books about anything spiritual or paranormal, metaphysical. I started going to the Monroe Institute regularly. So I really dove into personally into that spiritual world. And it became so important in my life, so much the driving force of my life that I felt I couldn't separate it from what I was doing professionally. I couldn't stay in the mainstream psychological field, do psychological evaluations, testing, put stigma and labels and more, more stigma and more labels on people. I really couldn't do it. I had to step away for that and really delve into wellness and into spirituality. And that really opened a whole new world for me. First, I reintegrated energy work into my practice, which I forgot about, but I was actually doing way before I even got into psychology. And then I started doing readings, psychic readings, first as
Mm.
to play around with myself, friends, family, eventually became professional as well. And then I delved into channeling. And my world has gradually become more and more and more immersive in that spiritual journey and those spiritual lessons. Again, becoming even more immersive so we can talk about things and we can live things. And the more we embody and really immerse ourselves in the journey of self growth and in the journey of exploration, that really, for me, transformed everything. It truly allowed me to tap into the magical world and take that leap of faith deeper than I ever thought was possible before, while not only maintaining my groundedness and my practicality, but even enhancing my level of discernment as a need to stay grounded and stay practical and stay discerning while still reaching out as far as I can with consciousness and with spiritual exploration.
Yeah. There's so much I'd love to unpack from what you have just shared. I mean,
Yeah, that was a long answer.
I know. No, it was great. It was really great. So many key things that you brought forward, and I'd love to touch first on embodiment and your mention of that. It is so important. So many of us, and I've been in this place on my own ascension journey as well, right? Especially in this information age we're living in, it's so
Mhm.
easy to confuse awareness and information with action or with
Absolutely.
experience,
Beingness,
right?
even the
Exactly.
beingness, right? Actually
Exactly.
holding that space, holding those emotions, holding those thoughts and everything else that
Ex-
comes with them.
exactly. And it really is, embodiment is being talked about more and more, but it really is missing from so many mainstream teachings, that are out there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's such a big difference between knowing things in theory and experiencing them. And you can talk about it even in terms of like globally. So we are experiencing these intense times of changes. Everything is accelerating. And, the guides have been talking about it.
Mhm.
Anyone that is in any way exposed to either astrologers or channelers or psychics have heard the talk of the shift and accelerated changes. This is all in conversation for maybe even decades now. However, now we are actually going through the eye of the needle. And you see how different it is for people to talk about it in theory,
Mhm.
to hear the words, oh, yes, systems are going to break down, but don't react with fear. It's all going in a good way. And when you hear about it, oh, yeah, great, systems are breaking down. Great, we're headed in a positive direction.
Yes.
But then when you are living it, when you are here and systems around you are actually breaking down, another thing that they warned about or prophesied is everything is coming up to the surface. Nothing can stay hidden anymore. So anything that was broken, anything that is corrupt,
Mhm.
anything that is wounded and needs attention is going to come up to the surface. In theory, perfect. Yes, we got it. Yes, we don't want to avoid anything. Everything is up to the surface. But now experiencing it in such a raw way is a completely different world. And a lot of people that were okay with it in theory find it very difficult to hold the experience as they're experiencing it. And there's also the tendency to think that if we understand something, we don't need to experience it.
Yeah.
So if I understand that, yes, the full spectrum of emotion is healthy. Yes, we need to experience all emotions. But then when sadness comes up, with anger comes up, and we don't know what to do with it, it's very different to actually learn to hold that space and remember that, yes, that's what we're talking about, holding that space. So it's not only understanding it that sadness is appropriate and important to the human condition, but it's also applying it when sadness comes up, which is just a completely different beast. It sounds like it would be the same. Yes, we understand something, now we're living it. But in reality, the knowing in the mind and the experiencing in the physical body, we are physical beings, which includes our physical brain, which includes hormones and chemicals and all kind of wonderful and awful and eventful
Well, we have several
aspects
body
of
systems,
ourselves.
right? We have several
Yes.
body systems, right?
Yes.
And that's part of, I mean, what I believe to be the journey here, right? It's a journey of remembrance and it's a journey of embodiment. And when you touch
Hmm.
on experience, right, which is so important, but there's even wisdom beyond experience. There's a difference between those two. And a lot of people can tend to initially teach from experience,
Hmm.
not always from wisdom.
Yeah, we have to start somewhere, it's a process of evolution and we have to start from the bottom. So that's what we're talking about, being grounded and being in our bodies. So you have to start from the physical body. That also means that when you are on your spiritual journey, it doesn't matter how evolved you are, it doesn't matter how speedy your path to ascension is, you have to start by taking care of your physical body
Mhm.
and caring for it, loving it, having a friendly, beautiful relationship with it. I'm quite petite and I'm short, and I used to have difficulty with that. And my body, because I'm small, I'm weaker physically, I'm not like this big, strong person. And again, it used to be difficult for me. I used to think of my body as sensitive, and it used to feel like a burden having to take care of my body or be considerate of my body, because I felt like my personality is more like, yes, let's go do it. And my body is like, yes, let's be gentle. And it took me years of refining my relationship with my body. And it's an ever-going journey, right? It's not like I got there and that's it, I'm perfect. But it took me years of journey of working on this relationship with my body where I have come to feel that it's a privilege to care for this body. And of course, as my attitude changed, my body changed as well. I'm still short and small and and everything, but healthy and well. And again, it's not even about that. It is about that, but it's really about the relationship with the body and the appreciation and love for the body as this beautiful, magical device that is allowing us to experience this physical realm.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, our that's been a journey for myself as well with the body, and I know so many people can relate to that. And
Hmm.
our bodies are just really so amazing, and
Yes.
when you reach that state of being, right? That place of being with yourself when you can truly love yourself, right? Unconditionally, it really
Hmm.
is it's paradigm shifting. It really
Yes.
is.
And let's touch what it means to love yourself unconditionally, because people don't really understand that.
Mhm.
Especially when we talk about loving the whole of yourself, right? People really have a hard time with that. How do I love the parts of myself that I don't even like? And we can talk about the physical body, but it also applies to abstract notions and your
Yeah.
personalities and your different tendencies and your behaviors and your patterns and everything else you can think about. But so loving, and let's talk about the physical body. Why not? Because this is perfect. So loving your physical body doesn't mean looking in the mirror and seeing a supermodel. And I think that's really important for people to understand. And let's make it not personal because it's easier to think about other people than about ourselves because then we have all these emotions and stories attached. So let's take a person that we don't know let's say they have an average body. They're not particularly fit and I don't know model like, but they're also not extremely obese. They kind of average looking body. That same person, and we'll say, even make them a them. It's not a he or she. They can look in the mirror just for generalization purposes, right? So anyone can relate to it. I'm not making any political statement or otherwise. So let's say this completely average person looks in the mirror through their eyes. They can find all the trouble areas, the dimply thighs and the thinning hair or whatever they can find that's wrong with their body. Or that completely average person can look in the mirror and see a beautiful organic device that is working with them to help them experience this beautiful experience. And together they are learning how to work and navigate this world in a way that's going to bring more meaning and joy and to reach out to spiritual realm while staying grounded in the physical body and all these other magical stories that we can have about the body. Same body, same mirror, different perception. And that different perception is going to create a completely different reality of the condition of the physical body. And of course, the interaction with the other parts of the self and the other bodies. We
Mhm.
mentioned there are other bodies, and you can look at it as the other parts of yourself or the other bodies or either or. It
Yeah.
can get
A lot
quite
of people,
involved.
absolutely, to what you're saying, 1,000%. And a lot of people feel challenged with the how of how to do that, right? How
Hmm.
to change their perception. In my experience, cultivating a sense of curiosity is really important, right? So even starting with, you've identified an aspect of yourself that you're declaring that you don't like. Well,
Hmm.
okay, approaching that from a neutral, observing kind of perspective. Well, why? Why don't you like yourself? And all of that really goes back to those societal constructs, those very deeply embedded societal and ancestral constructs that teach us this is pretty, this is not pretty, this is
Hmm.
acceptable, this is not acceptable. And it really can influence our
Hmm.
human perception of how we see ourselves at first.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. Curiosity is vital also in replacing fear. So
Hmm.
fear is a very instinctive reaction, especially to change, to things that we don't understand, to things that are not pleasant. And replacing, and I would say compassion is super, super important here, and curiosity,
Yeah.
super, super important. Using these two, depending on the situation, in place of the fear or to subside the fear is crucial. And these are usually very important tools and very helpful tools.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love for you to share with us more about your books and your work, right? I'm
Yes.
just feeling like there is some guidance or something that wants to come through for those who are listening today.
Yeah, so I published two books since I began channeling full time. I still do hypnosis and other services, but I really, really love the channeling, and I really feel like that's my life's work at this point. And so I published two books. The first one, Conversations with the Earth, And the second one is Conversations with Hathor. And they're both fascinating in slightly different ways. So the first book, Conversations with the Earth, really takes my journey as a beginner channeler
Mhm.
in a way that I was opening to many, many, many different sources, wanting to explore, experience, and receive wisdom from as many sources as possible about the earth and about humanity. So rather than the sources of the information, conversations with the earth, the focal point is the subject of the information, which is the full name of the book is Conversations with the Earth, Channeling on Humanity, Consciousness, and the Shift. So the focal point is really consciousness and the shift that is happening for humanity right now on this planet. And in this book, I open with fire consciousness and I move on to channel other elements. And from there, I go to moon and to trees. And then it gets more and more galactic and different councils, different galactic races, including the hybrid children. And it just gets wilder and wilder the more you go in because, and a part of it is because the future we are headed towards is so wild and so interesting.
Mhm.
So that's Conversations with the Earth. And that was really mind expanding for me to feel and to experience how these other consciousnesses that we don't tend to think about as something that can communicate with us necessarily
Mhm.
can actually have wisdom that is so, on one hand, they have such a wide perspective, so wise, and on the other hand, so specific to us right now. So that has really been a beautiful journey for me. And now, Conversations with Hathor, Channeling the Divine Feminine, is my latest book. It was published earlier in 2025. And although it's my latest book and it has more recent material, it actually captures even more of the beginning of my channeling journey because Hathor was one of the first sources that came through to me, even though I didn't know who or what she or they were. But they came through to me from the very beginning, and I did all these different explorations, but they stayed with me all the way. And today, they are the main source that I channel, although I have fun with some other sources as well. So because of that, the book Conversations with Hathor, not only that it talks a lot about Hathor, their nature, their interactions with humanity, a lot about contact, but the beginning of the book really centers of the process of channeling on how to find a deeper sense of trust, how to find a deeper sense of discernment. How do I know when it's my imagination and when it's my intuition? And all these questions that new channelers often have, because at the beginning, it was other channelers, beginner channelers, that were asking the questions. So it was all about these topics. So the book, Conversations with Hathor, really runs the span from beginning to opening, beginning to channel, learning how to hold the flow, to really deep teachings from those very wise beings.
Mhm. I love that so much. And Hathor, not as prominent today, but was a significant part of my earlier journey as well. I just love that there's so much in common here. I would love for you to share with us um, your channeling work. How has your channeling work aided in cultivating a deeper embodiment of your oversoul?
Ooh, all right.
Here I am.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Hathor is the main source I work with.
Yeah.
And they are an emanation of the divine feminine. That's for and foremost how they see themselves and how they introduce themselves through me when I started channeling them. And that process of integrating the divine feminine has become everything for me. And these are all concepts that I was working on before I started channeling, and other people will relate to that too, because these are all part of what we are working on collectively as a humanity right now. But channeling those essences, which really means on a regular basis integrating, consciously integrating my essence with their own, has taken this to the next level. So, some examples of the teachings that I'm talking about. So, the biggest one, that's kind of an umbrella that includes many others within it, is really embodying the lesson of living your life from the heart and not from the mind. So, really interpreting things this way. When you react coming from that way, when you experience conflict, resolving the conflicts from that place.
Mhm.
Um, it's really quite work, right? Both energetically and practically. There are a lot of layers to it, but that's one big, big thing that is directly related to the flow of the divine feminine that we're all inhabiting right now and really stepping into in order to evolve, because that is the next step to our evolution. So that is a perfect example to what I mean. So, I've heard of living from the heart before. It wasn't new to me when I started channeling. I was actually already focusing on my heart center for I think 7 years. So we're talking, it really wasn't new, but it took everything to a whole new level. Because now, as I mentioned, you're really talking about integrating those essences.
Mhm.
And it's so difficult to explain, but eh, it's so difficult to explain the difference from, for example, just general spiritual path and a practice like channeling, which somehow takes everything to the next level, even energetically, because your body becomes even more of the bridge between realms. Our bodies are already bridge between realms, but becoming a channel or allowing channeling makes it even more so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so parallel to that, with the heart, learning to trust more deeply, which also means letting go of control and trying to control things. Um, Again, parallel to that, going with the flow,
Yeah.
choosing the path of least resistance, which was, I believe, the wisdom from the wind.
Mhm.
Um, so all of these lessons that we all heard of, we're really being asked to step into the next level with them. And for me, channeling really took it on to the next level. And it hasn't been a smooth journey because becoming more open in that way has also made me a lot more vulnerable, which then allows any inner wounds, um, deep, deep, deep inside that are not fully processed, whether any conversations of, let's say, being different than others, or being, yeah, parallel to that, being excluded or rejection, the not the fear, the wound of rejection.
Mhm.
All this stuff really comes up to the surface as as I truly embodied the vulnerability of the feminine and really reducing any defenses and really looking inwardly without any defense so you can look with total clarity. So it included a lot of opening to vulnerability and to hurt. So it's been a really wild journey of both increasing awareness and increasing The frequency of operation, but at the same time also being more raw and more vulnerable.
Yeah. I love how you describe that. So relatable. I relate to that too, right? And it really does also change, our relationship to the masculine as well, because so many of us have this conditioning around really an inverted masculine. I would love for you to share anything else intuitively that you're feeling guided to
Mhm.
forward in this now moment.
Yeah, I think we actually packed people with information. So, what I would like to do is share a small light language transmission okay, so let's mention what light language is. And then, what I would like to share is a little light language transmission, allowing the guy to share a little bit of their energy instead of more
Sounds
words.
wonderful. Yeah, sounds
So,
great.
yeah, so light language, a lot of people have heard of light language, but what I'm going to speak about what it is in terms of energetically. So
Mhm.
when I channel light language, it's usually Isis and Hathor working in collaboration. And the words and the more spoken sounding part, although it's not in English, that's what we call it light language. The more spoken part, I feel is coming from Isis. And I used to actually see that energy coming out of me or from somewhere in consciousness as white ribbons of energy interwoven and interacting with people, energy centers, heart, brain, nervous system.
Mhm.
And the Hathor sounds are more general sounds and tones and tunings. They call it field tuning. And that really interacts with our whole energy field. And that I still see. The ribbons I don't see as much anymore. And they can be different colors and different textures. And they just work with our field in general. And it works to vibrate ourselves in tune with our own coherence and our own harmony. And
Mhm.
when that happens and we're harmonious, the guides have explained, our fields expand. And then we start resonating in coherence with each other. And then our fields expand even more. So it's really, really nice. And it's very healing. And people often tend to be able to feel it, even though they otherwise cannot feel energy. So people say, "Oh, I don't know how to feel energy." Often they do with the field tuning. So that's really a gift, a validating gift for people.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, so we're going to do a tiny, tiny sample of that. Of course, if people want to hear more, they can check out my YouTube, they can do sessions with me, they can join my group. Joining my group is probably the best, that and YouTube. But for now, here's a live sample of some Hathor energy.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Rumia kiraranieta rostu homariani. Nuromaye karomaneratia kukrania turustahami. Omanerayena ha ha ha. Rumane karianu turustu amane akaranianu rustu yana ha 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 ha. Humanera kia norostu hamena kare yeno hom. Rena hakarianu turustayana. He rumane karianita harastiana. He 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 rumo kakriani. Romane karaye narakarustu yemane hei.
That was really beautiful. That was very grounding.
Yes, I was going to say they usually
Yeah,
do more high stuff, but no, this was very,
very
very
grounding.
lower chakras. Yes.
Yes, beautiful. Yes,
Thank
it's just
you.
so aligned with the theme of what we were talking about, right? The embodiment
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom. And so, yeah, it was just, of course, just divinely perfect. Thank you so much. What a gift. Thank you. Thank you. For those, you did mention your website, and we will have links in the show notes for everyone listening. Where is the best place for someone to go who wants to connect with you more deeply?
Yes, my website is yafichanneling.com. My first name, Yafi, channeling.com. And there you have links to my books, which you can find on Amazon or on the website, to I teach light language and channeling, which I love doing. Please, please join the group. Is on my website, YouTube, everything is there. So just one stop, yafichanneling.com, and you can connect anywhere else through that website.
Thank you so much, Yafi. What a treat. It was just really fun and happy. I just want to say happy. Having,
Wonderful.
yeah, loved our conversation so much. What an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.